Hey guys, uh, welcome to Damn It Boy Media. And I thank you guys for coming on tonight. And so the folks out there will know we're with Josh Roberts and Mac Tatum. Mac is the president of Southern Ground Pounders, and Josh is the vice president. Um, they are Josh is a two-time champion of the Sportsman Series, and Mac is 2023 modified champion. And guys, thank y'all for coming on again tonight.
Sure, no problem.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Hey, Larry McReynolds was giving your neighborhood a shout out a while ago about Southside and Denny Hamlin because he won the race. So
yeah, uh, I was in that. I was outside, but I watched the last couple laps of the race, and congrats to him. But I'd a whole lot rather seen somebody else win it. I'd have rather not seen him beating my favorite driver.
I think all the boos from the stands kind of went along with your sentiments there, Mac.
Yeah, I think so too.
Hey, we'll get to some questions here, and please jump in and if I don't ask the right questions, you give me the right answers, okay? So we
All right.
can learn more about Southern Ground Pounders and what's going to happen this year. And so we'll get started with Mac. Tell us a little bit about what you've been doing this winter on the off season for getting ready for the Southern Ground Pounders.
Well, during the off season, I mean, we've done a lot for the club. We had some rules additions and some rule changes. We just finished a rule revamp, which is we didn't change any rules after the initial change in January, but we went in and remodified, re-edited, constructed a rules package, a rules document, so that it reads so much better and so much cleaner. Because over the years, we've just been adding rules in as we needed to. So Mike Eggleston, one of our members, he did a good job with getting that up to speed. We also added a new membership application online. And we did that because we're needing some more information from our members at the racetrack. So anybody that shows up this year is going to have to fill out a new membership application. It's got some personal questions on it that, we all understand HIPAA, but there's a few things we need to know. And the guys will see that when they see it. And it's not too invasive, but it is some information that we need to know. So if something happens at the racetrack, we can pass it on. So that's happening, and just normal stuff, just preparing for the next year, dealing with promoters, getting race agreements signed and sent back, and all that stuff. It's a lot of work that goes into that, and trying to get Josh up to speed on some of it here, get him in tune with what goes on, because if I get run over by a truck tomorrow, we're going to be in trouble.
We hope not.
Hopefully we'll be okay with that.
Josh, you've took on a new role with Southern Ground Pounders. Tell us about what your role is there now, other than being the 2023 sportsman champion.
Yeah, that aside, Mac just needed some help on the back end trying to get things going. He wears a lot of hats, juggles a lot of questions, a lot of people. So I told him, earlier in the springtime, I said, hey, if you need somebody to step up and talk to promoters or help on race day or just field all the thousands of questions that come through every week about just simple stuff, and I always thought Mac is, he's blowing it out of proportion. Everybody's got all these questions, but people will call you about every little thing. And, I pretend to know the answers. Sometimes I just call Mac and say, hey, give me an answer. And I call him back, act like I know what I'm doing. But that's kind of what it is, just getting in touch with different tracks and helping things run smoothly on race day.
Give us a little bit of insight on your pit crew, because I know it's a family affair with you, and I got to hand it to you to have two teenage daughters that will come to the racetrack with you every time you race. Is you've got to be a good dad.
Well, I don't know about that. They're better kids than I am a father some days, but they love it just as much as I do. The youngest one, she's itching to get into something. We just don't know what that's going to be. My oldest daughter will miss one this year. She has prom, so we had to flip a coin whether we're going to go racing or go to prom. Turns out she's going to prom and I'm going racing. So, yeah, no, they're really great. Dad jumps in and helps a bunch. Dad's a meticulous individual, so he wants to have the best looking car every time he shows up, and it will drive you insane. But at the end of the day, it's much appreciated. And my wife, she just goes to bat for me anytime we need something. We went down to Dillon last year with a brand new car, and I backed it into the wall before she even showed up. And she got there and she had already ordered new body parts for it. So you really can't ask for nothing better than that.
No, you can't. Last year was the first time I'd met you, and I met you there. And I have to say, I was nervous because it was my first race, but I felt really bad for you. And the car was basically totaled, wasn't it?
No, we got really lucky. It was no frame damage. It was all cosmetics. So, well, I say cosmetic. It tore a rear end and some spindles out of it, but no, it's just on a rear shock mount. You're supposed to weld the collar. Being new, I didn't know. I set the set screws, and we were out there second practice and just dove off into three. And I still don't know what happened, but we ended up backing into the wall, and we missed one race. And then 3 weeks later, we had it back out there. And we lacked speed all year, but a lot of that was me in the seat. So we're getting a little bit better as we go.
Yeah, we had that real bad scare a couple of about there the last couple of races when I come around on coming into one and you turned it around in one and I was going right into your side.
Yeah, that was at Langley.
Yeah.
That place just jumped out and bit me, and I looked up and I said, "Damn, it's Rick Marshall. Here he comes." But no, you did a real good job avoiding my mistake, so I appreciate that, and I'm sure Dad appreciated it too.
That was scary.
There's been a lot of aluminum sucked up when you're sitting sideways in a racetrack. I can guarantee it, because I've got about 1.5 pounds of it that I'm still trying to remove.
Yeah.
And I was in a borrowed race car, even on top of that, so I didn't really want to have to pay for that too, as well. But
yeah, your crash clause was getting dangerous.
It was. It was. So is everybody coming back this year that can? I mean, like the Hickses, Frank and Chris and
Yeah, I think so. I mean, everybody's on board, and we have some new members coming. There's new cars always coming down the pipeline, and they call me. I get 10 phone calls a winter that are guys going, "I'm building a car." And they are building cars, but they're just slow to get going sometimes. It's a lot more involved than they think it is. And so, if we get 10 phone calls or 12 phone calls, I usually see 2 to 3 cars that show up when they say they're going to. And then they trickle on in as the summer goes on, and this year there's been a lot of adversity with the vintage racing clubs around, south of us in the Carolinas and South Carolina. And a lot of those guys have called and said they wanted to come race with us. And that's fine. If their cars are legal, they're perfectly welcome. We want them to. But that's a side note. We want those other vintage clubs to survive and be very good, because for them to be good is good for us. We're pulling cars from South Carolina to almost Maryland, and as far west as Tennessee sometimes. So that's a big area. And it takes a lot to travel and do that. And by having other clubs around, the guys can do one-off weekends and come race with you. And I'd love to go race with some of the other clubs from time to time, but it's just so hard with us having a 15 race schedule or a 14 race schedule, and then you're off weekends, you try to do stuff with your wives and kids, and and not kill them. My kids are all grown. I got 2 great kids, but my wife is my ride or die, and she's with me, and she's a crew chief on the car, and I drag some other people around sometimes. But I think we're going to be in good shape with cars. Cars come and go, and people come and go, but there's a core group of people. And I'll be honest with you, man, I've been doing it for 25 years, and it gets tough. It's tough to get motivated to go fix something so you can go drag 260 miles to go run 25 laps. So,
oh
but we're
yeah.
still doing it.
Yeah, I was I think the 2 closest tracks to me were Caraway and Pulaski, which is I think it's Pulaski County Speedway now,
Yes.
isn't it?
Well, it
And
was, yeah.
that
It's closed up now. They moved the whole operation to Coburn.
did they?
Yep, moved a whole bunch.
Another great racetrack bites the dust, because that one, South Boston and Dominion, I love those 3 racetracks. They're high bank and they're fast.
Yeah, people ask me all the time, man, where's a nice place to go? And I always tell them South Boston's always great. All the places are great, but if you just want to go someplace that's big, fast, smooth, man, Dominion is it.
Oh yes.
It's also very unforgiving. If something
very dark.
happens, yeah, if it happens, it's quick and it's usually a clip.
Josh, it's pretty dark on that back straightaway until you start hitting things, isn't it?
That track, I don't know if they just ran out of money when they got to the lights. Everything on the ground is beautiful, but it's like the stuff they put in the air they forgot about. But yeah, that place is wonderful to race at, and we're lucky to go there 2 times this year. But yeah, I got in the back of Mac last year. We had another gentleman go up and bounce off the wall, and Mac found the brake pedal a whole lot faster than I did, but he didn't even know I hit him, so he's all right.
That's the night that I got the best racing I had all year long. Me and Mac raced for like back and forth for about 10 laps, and that was the most fun. Except I was scared to death. I was afraid I was going to get in his way and cause him problems. And he'd already had enough problems with clutch coming out of his car that weekend and having to go switch cars. But that was great racing and learned a lot that night as well.
That's a great point, Rick, because let me tell you something. It always ain't about winning and going fast. We have tons of members, and it happens all the time. They get out of the car and they've been out there racing and they got with somebody and they run 7 or 8 laps and they really ran wheel to wheel, kind of side by side. And they get out the car and some of those guys are like, man, I just feel like I raced Daytona. And that's really what the fellowship is about, and the guys enjoying the car. Everybody wants to win, but we got some cars that ain't never going to win unless they really go through some changes. But if without having that guy there, you don't have anybody to race with, and that guy is a very integral part of our club. So it's always, and the guys who are always up front, they need to remember that about those guys sometimes.
It was like that night I actually finished second in the modifieds, and but I was counting down. It was Jimmy Mullins leading. Nobody was going to catch that cat. He that pink gremlin was gone,
Yeah, he
and
checked out.
and I can't remember who the other one was, but the third one was Josh, and I was trying to catch Josh, and I was like, well, what am I trying to get? I'm going to finish second. And, I can't. It's no sense in even trying to get on up there. But every lap, I'd try a little bit more, and then I'd look and here you'd come again. So, but that was a lot of fun that night. And every race, you're talking about guys. I think Josh and David Hill and Alan Rowe all named themselves Mid Pack Mafia. Those three cars have got better and better and better. And Josh, I'm going to say you're going to win a race completely this year.
Yeah, we'd like to think so. We're having a ball, man. Just to go out there and Alan made big strides on this midseason. He was just making strides in the seat, working on their car. And I just love racing against him. He's always running me clean. He gonna run you hard. That he had a little emblem on his front hood, and I told him it looked like a damn eagle in the rearview mirror a couple laps. But everywhere we go, we just seem to find ourselves around each other. David bought him a new hot rod off of Dennis and David Werner, and he's going to be somebody to reckon with this year too.
Well, he had a great run down at Florence just a couple of weeks ago. Started, I think, outside pole, led a bunch of the laps, and finished second, didn't he?
He did, and part of that too is he was just getting used to the seat, and I talked to him after the race, and he said he kind of just paced off some laps. He's trying to get real comfortable. David's a methodical racer.
Oh yeah, oh yes. Yeah. Matt, tell us about
if he'd listened to Deborah, he'd have won every race all year long. I got that on good authority because Deborah and my wife talk some, and I'm pretty sure if we just listen to the women, what do you think, Josh? If we just listen to the women, we'd be winning all the races.
It's real easy from the concrete blocks. It's real easy.
I named Deborah Jake Elder, and she said, "Who's Jake Elder?" And I had to go find a picture of Jake Elder and show it to her. She says, "I don't look nothing like him." I says, "No, but he's one of the greatest crew chiefs there ever was." But
ironically, Deborah has kind of stepped up in a little bit of role, and I think Josh's wife has helped her some here. They're kind of our social media gurus, managing some stuff on Facebook and putting some posts out there on the site because I have enough stuff to do, and I was the one having to do it, and it was nice to get them to step up and help out with that, and that's worked out really good, especially the last couple of weeks.
Well, Deborah, and she loves it just as much as David does, I think, and she definitely is a good crew chief for both those cars, David and Alan's cars. So just talk about some of the other drivers real quick, and car owners. Frank Hicks. Frank's doing okay. He's got, what, 4 or 5 race cars himself?
Yeah, he got a fleet of them, but he ain't got but one real driver, and that's his son Chris, and he can't drive but one of them at a time. But And Chris has done an absolutely fantastic job coming along. He is a good race car driver now. I don't, I don't consider myself a good race car driver. I've been doing it for almost 30 years, but I'm a real good racing enthusiast. And that's where I like to park myself. But we have just about all the guys in our club have there's three categories: the guys who've won championships and they're tired of the drama and they come get a vintage car. Then we got the guys who have never had a car and they always wanted to do it. And then we got some guys that have worked on cars and had hands in cars, but now it's their turn to do it. So all the membership, and I can go down the membership roll and tell you the guys and where they are, and it's really good because there's no animosity. I mean, I'd love to tell you there's no drama, but there is a little bit of drama. You can't help it when you get a bunch of testosterone together, and Lord forbid throw some estrogen in there, and it gets even worse. So but we've got a lot of good guys down the roster, and a lot of talent, a lot of new talent, and a lot of enthusiasts, and those guys are just as important as the most talented race car drivers we got.
And in my case, short on talent.
Well, we're all short on talent sometimes. I can assure you that. I've run out of talent a couple times on my own account. The worst I ever wrecked a car, the two worst wrecks I ever been in were on my own talent when I ran out of it. So
yeah, I was going to ask you about Kevin Florals. He had some health issues back last year at the end of the season, and as everybody knows, Kevin is a showstopper. I mean, we were at Dillon last year, and I'm not sure if it was Kevin in the car or if his other driver that drives for him.
Steve Mendenhall drove at one race.
Well, the race that he come from the in the sportsman race, he came from the back to the front in like 6 laps, run second for until about the 12th lap, and then took the lead, and never ever did he ever touch another car. And that's the kind of racing that we do, and that's what makes this so much fun. It's hard racing, but clean racing.
Yeah, I think Josh has talked to Kevin some.
I did. Well, I talked to David, and David said Kevin's cleared, good to race. He'll be at Dillon. They're bringing 2 cars. I think Steve or either his son is going to drive, or Kevin's son's going to drive one of them. But yeah, I look forward to having Kevin there. Kevin always gave me good advice. Kevin gave me the advice, not what kind of stagger, what kind of tow, nothing like that. Kevin gave me life advice, driving advice. Go in there, give it your best, but you still got shit to do on Sunday, so use your head. And that kind of just stuck with me. So it's guys like that really help the club go. Like Max says, we all want to win. We all want to hold the trophy. If they're giving away a candy bar, we want the candy bar. But at the end of the day, we're all a group of people with the same, passion for the sport, and that's kind of where we sit.
Now, does Kevin's son run like legend cars, or?
I can't speak on that. I know he has some driving experience.
Yeah, he ran a bunch of Legends car racing, and he's driven his dad's cars a little bit, but he just wasn't gung ho for it. But he's fully capable of wheeling it. I will tell you, it's easy to go fast by yourself. It's really hard to go fast with 6 other people occupying the same spot.
Oh yes,
and that's where a lot of us fall. And some people just got it, man. Like some people just got it, and they can deal with it. And some people, as soon as you get close to them, they start getting nervous.
Kevin and David both, David Hall, both those guys will help you to the very start of the race. And of course I've started beside of Kevin and behind him, thinking I'm going to learn something. I do. But he gets away so fast that I don't get to learn a whole lot long. So but both those guys will help you. But David Hill, Alan Rowe, Frank Hicks, all those guys will help you to the end until you get in the car and get ready to go racing. They're helping you and telling you things. And Rodney and all those guys are always there to help and get you running. And like you've mentioned before, but the other one race, I think it may have been at Carteret, they worked on one car for 2 hours changing carburetors on it for somebody.
Carburetors and distributors.
Yeah. And
I carry a complete ignition system for MSD in my trailer and multiple carburetors, and I have loaned them out so many times. And my carburetor guy told me, he said, "You let somebody borrow this carburetor?" I said, "Yeah, they ran it. They wanted to keep it." He said, "Don't let this one get borrowed no more." So, but that's the fellowship in our club, man. These guys are all about that. And I told you the other day, I actually witnessed a guy take a water pump off a pickup truck they towed the race car to the track with and put it on a car so the guy could make the race. He wasn't worried about having to outrun the guy. He just wanted the guy to make the race. Everybody's got the same goal. They're here. They want to help everybody, and that's one of the things that me being the president of the club for the past decade, I'm really proud of that. It says a lot, and a lot of people see and notice that stuff.
Well, just real quick, let's talk about the new cars that you're going to allow now on the end as vintage.
Yeah, we sportsman cars, we haven't changed anything on a sportsman car other than you could be a little bit lighter this year. You can go 2,800 pounds, but I don't see a whole lot of people being 2,800 pounds in a sportsman car because they're just not built for it, and with the steel bodies and stuff. But you can, if you can get your car that light and get it to weigh out, by all means you can lighten it up. But the modifieds is where we've had some change. Two big changes. We're going to allow a full-bodied modified this year, but it's very specific to 1970 to 72 era of the modifieds. And in that era, they ran unibody Falcons, Chevy 2s, stuff like that, Corvairs, and if you want to put front fenders on it, that's fine. You can do it to replicate that car. The Falcons and the Chevy 2s were really the most prolific in that era. And then we're going to allow, the club has to progress and grow as time goes on. So it's time, I think, we're going to allow the Cavalier era modifieds to come in and race now. That's Cavaliers, Mustang 2s. Of course, Pintos, Gremlins, and Vegas have been allowed. But, stuff like that were in that era. Plymouth Arrows, Mustang Capris, Mercury Capris, Chevettes, Plymouth Arrows, some stuff like that. But so that's an era that we're looking at, but it's an era up to 1993. But it's got to have the real steel roof, and it's got to really look spot on. We're not going to just allow somebody to throw something together and go, "Oh, yeah, that's a Cavalier," and that's not going to fly. It's going to have to really look like a Cavalier, and it's going to have to be there.
So I understand correctly. So a Falcon like your friend Christy has, the one that I found so well
Yes.
down at Langley that night.
Yes. Yes.
Will that car? Will he put fender? If he puts fenders on that car, can he run that car with fenders on it?
He can. Yes, he can. And if you go back and look in the 70s, the NASCAR tried for a while to go because the coupes and coaches were getting so hard to come by. They tried to foster in a new breed of car. And that's when they went to the full-bodied modified, which is those Falcons and stuff, the Falcon Chevy 2s in that era. But still, a lot of people that remember our club remember the Falcon that Jeff and BJ Apple had that Jimmy Rice wheeled and won so many races in our club. That's actually a replica of a modified from that era. But we didn't have that distinction. We had to run it as a sportsman car because it had fenders on the front of it. That's always been our break, is it's either got fenders on the front of it or it doesn't. If it doesn't have fenders, it's a modified. If it has fenders, it's a sportsman. So, that's kind of where we went with that. And if you really look across the country, it's lots of differences, but you got to draw a line in the sand somewhere. And we've tried to make it as universal as we could and let the most stuff operate that we can without changing the look and appearance of our club so much, because that's what we are. If we don't have our identity as vintage race cars, we don't have anything.
Correct.
So that's what we're trying to do with that. And for all those people watching, every vintage race car, if you do a new build, it's got to have a chassis that's at least 10 years old, and it's got to be board of director approved. It's not that we want to tell you no, but what we want to do is keep you from putting a ton of effort into something that we're not going to allow in the end.
Yeah.
So you got to just reach out, and usually it's a phone call, it's a conversation, and yep, that'll work. Just watch this. Make sure you don't do this. So that's what we got to do. And that's what keeps the club has to continue to grow, to flourish, and bring new members in. And those are the guys that we're trying to get that have seen the modifieds from the 90s and the 80s.
Right.
When I started, we were all 50s and 60s cars and stuff, and even older than that. But the demographic is moving along, and you've got to move with it to be productive and be
Oh yeah,
Popular.
that's true. Josh, real quick, can you tell us what's going to happen this coming weekend?
We're gonna all go down there and have a good time and bring all that shit home in one piece. That's our goal anyway.
And
Uh,
Matt,
but no,
and
it's a fun day on Friday, so you can go down 12 to darkish. I think practice is either 25 or $50. Go running to your heart's content. And Saturday we're gonna put on the national event, so you'll get a club race, a sportsman club race, a modified club race. The other clubs that are there are also going to get their own individual races, and then we'll have a sportsman national and a modified national. And Matt can tell you more about the race day schedule more than I can, but that's what we're going to do.
Mac, we've got about 3 minutes left. You got anything you want to tell us about?
No, I want this weekend will be the Southern Vintage Race Car Nationals that Dylan, me and my wife put that on. It's the 12th year we've done it. It's put on for vintage racers by vintage racers. So if you can come and you got a vintage race car, come. And I want all the people out there with vintage race cars to realize, man, set your differences aside. Come on and have a good time. Life's too short. If you want to do it, go do it today. We're all a bad day from drooling in a cup. So if you got any desire to do it, go do it. I'm serious. That's my
Oh,
motto.
that's true. That is very true. I just want to tell you that I had a great time last year, and just as soon as that I get mine out of the hospital, we'll be back. And
Well, hopefully sooner than later.
I do too. I hope so too. Because but anyway, good luck this weekend, and y'all be safe. I'm hoping to get down maybe Saturday. I hope. Just depends on how much honeydew list I get done this week. But Josh, man, thank you. Tell your wife and your daughters. I said hello. Tell your dad. I said hello, and
Yes, sir.
thank you guys for putting in the time for this and my mess ups. And I appreciate it very much.
All right, man.
Thank
No
y'all.
problem.
See y'all soon,
See you at the
guys.
racetrack.
Bye bye.
Yes, sir.